Good evening and welcome to Give Me a Break. I'm Jonathan Carmody. Throughout the 8 years of doing Give Me a Break, we often say Give Me a Break, but we have not asked is what's wrong with people and what's wrong with our society. Well, that's what Second Look Saturday is going to be all about. And it's going to be a half-hour show dedicated to what we're talking about. So let's begin. Do you remember the young girl by the name of Adriana Kirch? And as you know, throughout the years, we've been focusing on bullying. And it has always been my passion throughout this broadcast to put a stop to bullying. Which is why I created the Stop Bullying Speak Up group right on Facebook, which specifically tells you step-by-step instructions on how to deal with bullying. So far, we have over 50 members on the group. We got to get more out there. So if you have your stories to share, you're welcome to have them come on the broadcast to share their stories. But this one right here will really take the cake, Adriana Kirch. She committed suicide right after two days after students took a video. And yet the school didn't honor her until the day after. Did you ever imagine having that to your child if you were a parent? Well, take a look.
This time, Brown feels kind of better. Big smiles!
At the end of the term, I will be reducing the scholarship.
Students at one New Jersey school say that officials are dropping the ball on a serious issue, bullying. The father of a 14-year-old says bullying drove his daughter to suicide. Today, students staged a walkout at Central Regional High School to draw attention to a pattern of bullying that they say the district is ignoring. This was Brian Thompson is in Berkeley Township and has those details.
Students at Central Regional High School in the Bayville section of Berkeley Township angry, fearful over the suicide death of one of their own after this video was posted to social media last week of several students attacking 14-year-old Adriana Kirch walking with her boyfriend in the hallway for no reason yet disclosed. 2 days later, she took her life at home. Her father outraged police weren't called.
A kid is assaulted with a weapon and it's not their policy to call the police or to file a report?
Michael Kirch tells me his daughter was taken to a nurse, not the hospital, even though she blacked out and had bruising over much of her body. His outrage reflected in the 200 or so students who protested throughout the school day, skipping class, demanding action.
I would like them to actually teach the people who bully what they're actually doing and how it affects them.
Parents were here in support of their children, not demanding they go back to class. One neighbor here even sharing this video that shows her daughter drowning in her backyard pool and Adriana jumping in to save her life.
She was like a daughter to me. She was at my house almost every day.
This demonstration didn't end until the school day did. Pizzeria owner Tony Favola bringing pies with a strong message of support inside. The police wouldn't let him cross to the kids across the street. The support appreciated by Adriana's father, who thinks he knows the cause.
I do know why it happened. It happened because these two haven't liked each other for a couple years, and she had been threatening my daughter online.
The school is not commenting at this point, only sending home a letter alerting parents to Adriana's death. Michael Kirch wants justice.
It was a felony assault. They don't file a report. That's obstruction of justice. They're absolutely refusing to protect our children. I mean, why would anybody want to send their kids there?
We went by the superintendent's office but have not heard back. The prosecutor is having no comment, but Kirch says he's been told by the prosecutor that criminal charges will be filed against at least 3 of the 4 girls who were involved in the attack on his daughter. In Berkeley Township, Brian Thompson, News 4 New York.
Now, after that story was aired, the students that were involved, they were charged with attempted assault and assault. But instead of punishing those girls, those people were like back in school. And yet, look, what is wrong with society today where nobody reports incidents that happen in our schools? If a student gets bullied, you ought to report the incident. Period. It's like you just don't slap on. You don't just look at these. You just don't look at this incident and say to yourself, "Oh, kids will be kids." No. If your child is being bullied, if a student's being bullied, it is your job to make a report. And people will say, well, we don't want to look bad on paper. You know? I mean, what do you mean you don't look bad on paper? You know, it's your duty to make sure of it. You know, what if the state comes and inspects your school and asks you, have there been any bullying problems? And you lie on paper saying, no, there hasn't. And yet, if the students come in and talk to say, yes, we've had some bullying problems, then that would lead the state inspector to believe that, you know, that would lead the superintendent to believe, hey, you know, the principal lied to the superintendent, to his or her boss, and, you know, this, and that, going all, you know, you should know better, blah, blah, blah. Because there are state laws. And there's actually more to the case than meets the eye. Next, I'm going to tell you a story about the DeKalb County school system that was involved in an issue that involved a viral video that involved unsafe conditions filmed by a student, state inspectors, and even one superintendent getting fired, and a school board saying that we stand behind what we say. Please stay with us. If you were a state inspector and saw something like this in your school, in these schools, and saw a sign saying something like, do not touch the pole, do not touch the outlets on the pole, electric shock. And as an inspector, you're looking at something like this and thinking to yourself, what the hell is going on? Well, back in April, we focused in, 3 years ago, we focused in on the DeKalb County school system after they've been addressed issues that was taken by a student's phone, which was reviewed and shared, which has been viewed and shared over 10,000 times. It was because of unsafe conditions from broken sinks, ceilings, and now it's leading to a state inspector looking into probable causes like this. In just a few minutes, we're going to hear we'll give you some updates about what's been going on since this, along with the superintendent. So, let's begin.
The State Board of Education is now launching an investigation after students exposed this unsafe and unsanitary video in their DeKalb County High School. It's deplorable to look at this. The video shows mold, water, exposed wires inside Druid Hills High School, along with concerns about raw sewage flooding out of a bathroom. Caitlin Ross is holding the district accountable and learned that the state plans to send an inspector into the school now.
You can like smell the mold. It's kind of really nasty, so I tend to walk outside just so I can avoid the smell.
Mary Phillips was horrified when she saw the video of her daughter's school, Druid Hills High.
Just how much of a safety issue it is. There's health hazards galore in that building, and my daughter had told me that, you know, there were some things that were less than ideal. You know, I know school bathrooms can be gross, but when I saw what's actually happening, that's concerning to me. I can't believe that they have students actively in that building right now.
A lot of people agree with her. The video racked up more than 18,000 views after it was posted earlier this week, and it's getting the attention of administrators. DeKalb County Superintendent Cheryl Watson Harris sent a letter home Wednesday commending the kids who made the video and telling parents she's putting the renovations back on the school board agenda for next Monday. The $52 million renovation project was put on hold in February after a school board member raised questions about funding pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds in the district. The board agreed to table the plan and talk about it later, but Phillips doesn't think the problems at the high school can wait.
It's an immediate health hazard, and I'm certain it's illegal. They need to address it now because they can't keep kids in those buildings like that.
The student who created the video plans to speak at Monday's meeting, and the board will still have to vote to include the renovations in a future project. The superintendent says the plans to improve the building have been in the works for months.
It's me, your brother. I need your help.
But it wasn't in plans for months until the superintendent just basically said, hey, let's just not talk about that school system. Let's just focus on other schools just need remodeling. You don't do that.
In a story that first at noon, new details in a story that first began to develop last night. DeKalb County Schools has new temporary leadership after firing its superintendent. Cheryl Watson Harris told CBS 46 she was, quote, blindsided after the board voted to terminate her contract. CBS 46's Rebecca Schramm is live at Druid Hills High, peeling back the layers of this story, and there are many, Rebecca, some deplorable conditions that school might have played a role in the board's decision.
Yeah, and Rob, there's been quite a bit of turmoil since that video that students here made went public. Parents all across the district have been chiming in on social media with opinions about the firing of the superintendent. I spoke with one parent who's been quite vocal. He happens to have a platform that allows him to be.
The school district has been a mess throughout the years.
Dan Wisenhunt is the editor and publisher of Decatorish.com. He wrote an opinion piece hours after the DeKalb County School Board abruptly fired Superintendent Dr. Cheryl Watson Harris.
I'm not surprised she got fired because I could see this coming a long time ago because they have not been getting along. I am surprised by how quickly it happened.
The firing comes on the heels of a scathing letter from State School Superintendent Richard Woods blasting the board for allowing schools like Druid Hills High School to fall into egregious disrepair. That was Monday. On Tuesday, the board fired Watson Harris less than 2 years after she took the position.
She was a scapegoat for the failings of not only this board, but of all the previous boards.
Wisenhunt says even before this, the board had limited the superintendent's spending power and had resisted her hires.
It seems the school board is entirely motivated by spite.
He says it's time for elected officials outside the school board to step up.
I think we need to revisit the structure of the board. I think having the board structured the way it is, where each board member is worried about protecting their own turf and not worried about serving the district as a whole, creates these conflicts. But they're about to go look for another superintendent. But seriously, who wants this job? After looking at what just happened, who would want to touch this job with a 10-foot pole? I wouldn't.
From what we're hearing, in less than an hour from now, the school board is planning to hold a news conference to explain why they fired the superintendent. We will have updates for you throughout the afternoon and evening. Live in DeKalb County, Rebecca Schramm, CBS 46 News.
They said that since I worked full-time, I wouldn't be able to go to school. But with WGU, I was able to do my classes on my own time and take all my tests online when it suited me best. Learn more at WGU.edu.
Coming up, the state senator reacts to the firing, and I'll give you my thoughts about it. Stay with us. Welcome back. 3 years ago, we focused in on an issue that really made my blood boil. The DeKalb County school system, high school, was under an investigation by the state because of unsafe conditions, which led to a student taking video and sharing it on social media, getting over 10,000 views. At that time, the superintendent was fired, and something like this.
Jennifer, one state senator that represents part of DeKalb County tells me the school board firing Superintendent Cheryl Watson Harris did not surprise him one bit. He believes it was only a matter of time, and debate over needed repairs to Druid Hills High School was only the final straw.
I saw it coming a long time ago. There's been concerns that several board members have expressed to me in the past about some of her actions.
State Senator Emmanuel Jones says through regular meetings with DeKalb County School Board members, he learned the board often didn't see eye to eye with Superintendent Cheryl Watson Harris. Earlier this month, this student-produced video showing filthy and dangerous conditions inside Druid Hills High went viral. State School Superintendent Richard Woods then scolded the district and threatened to hold up state funds over a lack of plans to address needed repairs.
I heard it from a good source that she had already been notified that her 3-year contract was not going to be renewed. She was in the final year of that contract. And essentially what the board did is just bought out the remainder of her time.
The Associated Press reports DeKalb schools will likely have to pay Watson Harris $380,000 for the 14 months remaining on her contract. After Watson Harris's firing, State Senator Elena Parent, who also represents DeKalb County, including Druid Hills, sent Governor Brian Kemp and Woods this letter asking for a state investigation to ensure that decisions are being made that are in the best interest of the students. In response, Kemp wrote, "I am highly concerned that these serious issues in DeKalb County could be a result of a school system choosing politics over students, families, and educators." Kemp vowed to work with the Department of Education to see if actions are needed. Woods' office confirms he sent Parent's letter to Attorney General Chris Carr and is committed to taking any further action as necessary based on direction and guidance from the Attorney General's office. Jones, though, believes it's premature to call for the state to intervene.
We just need to get answers ourselves from our school board members.
All right, Joe, so at this point, have we heard any further from Cheryl Watson Harris about the school board firing her?
Well, Ron, so far we've only received a statement she previously sent me last evening where Watson Harris said she was blindsided by the board's decision, has not received official notice of her firing from the board, and claims she was actually booted from the virtual board meeting yesterday when board members discussed her firing in private.
In private, I think they should ought to know. But the thing I remember here is just this. You know, you are a school system. If you're going to be aware that you cannot just blindside the superintendent and be like, oh, I plan to fire her, we're going to take her off camera. She does not need to hear it. She does. She has the right as a superintendent to know that why she was being fired.
And Governor Brian Kemp tonight?
No one would even give a rat's ass because nobody cares. And when nobody cares, they sit there, thump their nose in and like, we don't want anything to do with it. You know, I mean, choosing politics over the safety of the child or the safety of the school. Come on, get real. You know, I had a good education in this different school, and I'll tell you, if there was any issues, I would then they would deal with it. We wouldn't be relying on a child to take a video and address it. Now, one person worked. If that person was me, it would have been handled properly. And if it would have been handled properly, we wouldn't even be here talking about it. Alright. Because we pay our taxes, and our tax dollars go to our school system. No joke. Our tax dollars go to our school systems. They go for safety purposes. They go to the safety of our schools. They go to the superintendents. They even use it to pay to give our teachers good raises. But when it comes to safety, we ought to start spending. The school needs to start focusing more on safety than politics or what else is going on. The safety of a child is what's very, very important, because I don't want to send my nephew to a school where they don't clean the bathrooms and there's no privacy. Without privacy, you won't even. Without any privacy, you won't. Who's gonna watch you take a piss? Take a piss in that bathroom. You know? I don't want to see someone going naked. And even if I did, I wouldn't even be here. But if it did happen to me, I would probably be concerned. It's just not one person would even give total rat's ass about what's going on. Because nobody cares. It's like in Karen Sharp's song, I'm dying inside and nobody knows it but me. Well, no one did know it years ago until it was too late. Because nobody would give a fucking rat's ass when it came to stuff like this. So when it came time to addressing the issues, it was just like, how can we do this? Well, like the superintendent is saying, let's not just focus, let's just put that to the side and then focus on renovation for all schools. Then we'll deal with safety. That led to the mistrust of the superintendent. And believe me, I would not want that ever happening again. If it did, we'd probably never be here. And if we were here, we wouldn't be here talking about it. So, I'll be back. I'll be back in a moment. We could spend another 30 minutes discussing, the outcome, what should have happened. But what I really wanted to do is take a second look into and just give you my thoughts about what should have happened. That's why the question is, what's wrong with people? What should have been done? But that's it for Second Look Saturday going to Sunday. We'll see you again for Game Break Monday. Good night, everyone. Concentration, not strain. Stop bullying. Speak up.